Alfons Maria Mucha. July 24, 1860 – July 14, 1939, often known in English and French as Alphonse Mucha, was a Czech Art Nouveau painter and decorative artist, known best for his distinct style. He produced many paintings, illustrations, advertisements, postcards, and designs. Early years: Alphonse Maria Mucha was born in the town of Ivana, Moravia. Although his singing abilities allowed him to continue his education through high school in the Moravian capital of Brno, drawing had been his main hobby since childhood. He worked at decorative painting jobs in Moravia, mostly painting theatrical scenery. In 1879, he relocated to Vienna to work for a major Viennese theatrical design company, while informally augmenting his artistic education. When a fire destroyed his employer's business during 1881, he returned to Moravia, to do freelance decorative and portrait painting. Count Kálkán of Mikulov hired Mucha to decorate Hrušovany Castle with murals, and was impressed enough that he agreed to sponsor Mucha's formal training at the Munich Academy of Fine Arts. Mucha moved to Paris in 1887, and continued his studies at Accada Copyright My Julian and Accada Copyright My Cola Rossi. In addition to his studies, he worked at producing magazine and advertising illustrations. About Christmas 1894, Mucha happened to go into a print shop where there was a sudden and unexpected need for a new advertising poster for a play featuring Sarah Bernhardt, the most famous actress in Paris, at the Four Centre de la Renaissance on the Boulevard Saint-Martin. Mucha volunteered to produce a lithographed poster within 2 weeks, and on January 1, 1895, the advertisement for the play Gismonda by Victor Rensardo was posted in the city, where it attracted much attention. Bernhardt was so satisfied with the success of this first poster that she began a 6-year contract with Mucha. Mucha produced a flurry of paintings, posters, advertisements, and book illustrations, as well as designs for jewelry, carpets, wallpaper, and theatre sets in what was termed initially the Mucha style but became known as Art Nouveau. Mucha's works frequently featured beautiful young women in flowing, vaguely neoclassical-looking robes, often surrounded by lush flowers which sometimes formed halos behind their heads. In contrast with contemporary poster makers, he used pale pastel colors. Mucha's style was given international exposure by the 1900 Universal Exhibition in Paris, of which Mucha said, "I think the exposition in Ivacell made some contribution toward bringing aesthetic values into arts and crafts." He decorated the Bosnia and Herzegovina pavilion and collaborated with decorating the Austrian pavilion. His Art Nouveau style was often imitated. The Art Nouveau style, however, was one that Mucha attempted to disassociate himself from throughout his life. He always insisted that rather than maintaining any fashionable stylistic form, his paintings were entirely a product of himself and Czech art. He declared that art existed only to communicate a spiritual message, and nothing more. Hence his frustration at the fame he gained by his commercial art, when he most wanted to concentrate on more artistic projects. Marriage: Mucha married Maria Chytilova on June 10, 1906, in Prague. The couple visited the U.S. from 1906 to 1910, during which time their daughter, Jaroslava, was born in New York City. They also had a son, J.R. and registered trademark, who later became a journalist, writer, screenwriter, author of autobiographical novels and studies of the works of his father. In the U.S., Mucha expected to earn money to fund his nationalistic projects to demonstrate to Czechs that he had not sold out. He was assisted by millionaire Charles Crane, who used his fortune to help promote revolutions and, after meeting Thomas Masaryk, Slavic nationalism. Alphonse and his family returned to the Czech lands and settled in Prague, where he decorated the Theatre of Fine Arts, contributed his time and talent to create the murals in the mayor's office at the municipal house, and other landmarks around the city. When Czechoslovakia won its independence after World War I, Mucha designed the new postage stamps, banknotes, and other government documents for the new state. La Pater: Mucha considered his publication La Pater to be his printed masterpiece, and referred to it in the New York Sun of January 5, 1900 as what he had put his soul into it. Printed on December 20, 1899, Lapata was Mucha's occult examination of the themes of the Lord's Prayer, and only 510 copies were produced. The Slav Epic. Mucha spent many years working on what he considered his life's fine art masterpiece, the Slav Epic, a series of 20 huge paintings depicting the history of the Czech and the Slavic people in general, bestowed to the city of Prague in 1928. He had wanted to complete a series such as this, a celebration of Slavic history, since he was young. From 1963 until 2012 the series was on display in the Chateau in Moravska 1/2 Krumlov in the South Moravian region in the Czech Republic. Since 2012 the series has been on display at the National Gallery's Velitra 3/4 Nau Palace. Death. The rising tide of fascism during the late 1930s resulted in Mucha's works and his Slavic nationalism being denounced in the press as reactionary. When German troops moved into Czechoslovakia during the spring of 1939, Mucha was among the first persons to be arrested by the Gestapo. During his interrogation, the aging artist became ill with pneumonia. Though released eventually, he may have been weakened by this event. He died in Prague on July 14, 1939, due to lung infection, and was interred there in the Vyarat Cemetery. Legacy. Although it enjoys great popularity today, at the time when he died, Mucha's style was considered outdated. His son, author J.R.M. registered trademark Mucha, devoted much of his life to writing about him and bringing attention to his artwork. In his own country, the new authorities were not interested in Mucha. The Slav Epic was rolled and stored for 25 years before being shown in Moravsky Krumlov, and a Mucha museum opened in Prague, managed by his grandson John Mucha. Mucha's work has continued to experience periodic revivals of interest for illustrators and artists. Interest in Mucha's distinctive style experienced a strong revival during the 1960s and is particularly evident in the psychedelic posters of Habshash and the Coloured Coat, the collective name for British artists Michael English and Nigel Weymouth, and Bob Mass. Mucha's work is a strongly acknowledged influence for Stuckist painter Paul Harvey. The band Soylent Green used a picture by Mucha for the cover art of their album Sewn Mouth Secrets. One of Mucha's paintings, Quo Vadis, or alternately Petronius and Eunice, was the subject of a legal dispute in 1986. The judgment by Richard Posner describes parts of Mucha's life and work biographically. Among his many other accomplishments, Mucha was also the restorer of Czech Freemasonry. One of the largest collections of Mucha's works is in the possession of former world #1 professional tennis player Ivan Lendl, who started collecting his works upon meeting J.R.M. registered trademark Mucha in 1982. His collection was exhibited publicly for the first time in 2013 in Prague. Gallery. See also, List of works by Alphonse Mucha, notes and references. External links, website of the Mucha Foundation, website of Mucha Museum in Prague, the Slav Epic official site, the Slav Epic, works by Alphonse Mucha at the Art Renewal Center, painting by Mucha Graces Pisek, N. Dark, Church, Mucha Gallery at Museum Syndicate, Alphonse Mucha Selected Works.